up, ladies and gentlemen? Guess what? It is Unfiltered Holy Week. Easter is upon us. The Super Bowl of all Sundays. I have only one guest with me today. It's my son, Austin. Austin, say hey.
What's up, everybody? It's good to be here.
Are you guys, are you ready for Easter?
I am. It's been a crazy week. Not so much for me as just everything at the church. So it's our busiest week of the year, I would say.
Yeah, I would say Easter is a very busy week probably for all churches around. We have a huge event that is actually taking place on Saturday called Egg Mania. So if you're seeing this and you're around, we'd love for you to come on Saturday morning between 10 and 2 and be a part of this event. Otherwise, come that evening, 5:30 and 7 are our two experience times on Saturday night. And then, of course, on Sunday, we have our three normal times of 8:30, 10, and 11:30. We'd love to have you. But this is Holy Week, and I have a tradition actually for tonight, and that is I watch The Passion of the Christ every year on Good Friday. And for me, it just is something to remind me of what Jesus did, how much he loved us, and what kind of pain and suffering he actually went through to impute righteousness on us, which I'm going to be talking about that on Sunday. I've got a whole nother level of an Easter message that I think is going to be, so good. You're going to want to tell your friends. You're going to bring your family. You're going to want to come for sure at one of our 5 Easter experiences. But I just thought I'd give all that a plug. I mean, it is Easter weekend, right?
Yep.
And it is Good Friday, and it is kind of an oxymoron, right? Good Friday and Christ dies.
Yep.
I wonder if they called it Good Friday before they knew, or we call it Good Friday now because we know.
Right.
It's a good question, huh?
That's a good question.
But today, we're going to talk to you guys about, well, I'm just going to say it, stupidity. There's a lot of stupidity out there. But the first thing we're going to talk about, to me, is actually really good, but maybe some of you think it's stupid. So we'll just kind of reverse what that looks like. But DeSantis, just a few days ago, signed in a law in Florida blocking kids from social media. I think a lot of people are starting to wonder if this is government overreach.
Sure.
We've seen the government definitely overreach in many different aspects of our U.S. Constitution and our rights. However, this is one that I would absolutely agree with what DeSantis has done. He did compromise a little bit because he wanted anyone under the age of 16 to not be able to have any social media. However, he compromised with other lawmakers, and he now says if you are 14 and 15 years old and you have the consent of a parent, then you can have social media. But anybody under the age of 14 is not allowed. It's against the law to have social media. So I don't know about you guys, but let me know what you think in the chat. Is that government overreach to you, or is this saying, yes, we're protecting our children from stupid parents? That's what I see. I mean, let's be honest. There are parents out there that are just complete idiots. They're dumb. They don't even know, in my opinion, they don't know how to raise kids, because if you allow your kids to watch porn under the age of 14, or you allow them to decide what sex they're going to be at the age of 5 and 6, you don't deserve to be a parent.
Yeah.
Am I out of line?
No. I think this is, my initial reaction was, okay, this seems a little bit like overreach, and I think completely banning it without parental consent would, in my mind, be a little bit too extreme, too dramatic.
Even for the under 14?
No, not for the under 14.
Okay.
No, I think when you start getting to the age of 15, we were kind of talking about this before we went live, and I think it should just be 18. As soon as you're 18, that's what you consider a legal adult.
Right.
And in some states it's 17, in some states it's 18. You know, it varies. I think that you make it 18 and you make drinking, you make smoking. I mean, those are not good things, right? But you make it all 18 because at that age you should be able to decide what you want your life to be.
Yeah.
You should
I mean,
decide.
you're allowing them to vote at 18.
Correct. They can enlist in the military at 18. They could drive a car at 16, you know. So raise everything to 18, maybe keep driving at 16, but standardize it. Right. And then we wouldn't have, because I think that adds to confusion for me.
Yeah. The legal age of an adult is 18 years of age. And in my opinion, as long as they're under the age of 18, it is the parent's responsibility to guide their children into the best things in life. And again, if a parent consents and says, yeah, I don't care that my child has social media at the age of 14, 15 years old, okay, great. I don't really necessarily know what
are they doing on Facebook at 14?
I mean, they're just staying up with their friends, Austin. They're chit-chatting. They're becoming influencers.
Yeah. I mean, I remember whenever I wanted a MySpace account, that kind of tells everybody how old I am.
And what we say?
You guys said no. I did it anyway. And
what?
Then I got caught. Yeah. Well, Mom knows this. I didn't know if you did, but it's not a place for a 14-year-old, I think I was like 12 or 13. And so
too young.
It's too young. And it's kind of uncharted territory because their argument, the people that are against this, you said that they were arguing this was a First Amendment issue.
Yeah. Free speech.
Well, okay. By that standard, then, would needing to be a certain age to get married without parental consent be a First Amendment or a constitutional infringement?
Yeah.
No, they're minors.
I mean,
they need guidance.
They consider anybody under the age of 16.
You need consent to get a tattoo.
But I mean, even with sex.
Yes, yeah.
If you have sex with someone at age 16, you can be nailed for child, or what is it called?
It could be
sexual assault or
statutory rape, whatever.
Whatever. And I mean, it's like, okay, why is the age category got to be different in things?
Yeah.
I agree. I think we just need to make it 18 across the board for everything. And I'm okay. Honestly, I am okay with 18-year-olds driving and not 16-year-olds.
Now that I'm 28, I'm totally cool with that. So
I mean, I know we're living in a world now where it's like, well, that's just not, back in the day, that's not the way it used to be. And you're right, it didn't. But today, we have more distractions today driving in a vehicle than we've ever had back in the day. You didn't have social media. You didn't have cell phones. Heck, you barely had a radio in the car that even worked to change the station, let alone having the cars that we do today, having the highways that we have today. They didn't have highways back then. They had dirt roads, and they had 2-lane roads pretty much everywhere.
Route 66.
I mean, I'm just saying, it's different today.
Yeah.
And for me, I would be 100% okay with saying 18 is the age that you get to smoke, you get to drink, you get to vote, you get to go to war, you get to have your own social media, whatever you want, and anything else under, I would be okay. Even with parental consent on certain things, like social media would probably be really the only thing because, truthfully, there's a lot of dumb parents out there.
Yep. And if they're not parenting, then it just opens it up for so much chaos and issues. And
it just makes it easier. And when it comes to that age of 18, we've seen in other countries where they allow kids to drink at the age of 18, and those countries have less problems with alcohol.
Absolutely.
Because of it.
Absolutely.
Because most of the time in those wild years, it's usually the younger years of, college age is where it becomes the issue. But if you allow them to do that in your home, or you allow them to do that at an earlier age, you have more control because, as you know, I don't have a problem with drinking whatsoever.
Sure.
I have a problem with people getting drunk. But that's no different than any responsibility. I don't have a problem with you gambling as long as you're not addicted to gambling and you're literally spending all of your money, paying your bill. You're not paying your bills and you're using that. I mean, it goes for anything. Social media is another one. I mean, we could go on and on. Eating is another one. Everything in balance is what it should be. Yeah. But this law is got people in an uproar right now about how it is government overreach. It's, it's not our free speech. We should be able to do what we want. It's our kids, yada, yada, yada. Well, I disagree with that. I just 100% disagree because there are parents that don't really even deserve to be parents. And I'm not even saying I'm the best parent. Okay, I think I'm a good parent. I think I've done pretty well considering I haven't made all the right decisions. But at the same time, we've tried to be very balanced when it comes to these issues because we feel, I should say, what's best for our kids at their age when they're still in training, when they're still learning. They're emotionally erect, number one. They don't need to be making these decisions that early on. They're emotionally wrecked. 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 And not only that, but even with the way social media is today with feelings and emotions and all the bullying that goes on, it take care of all that nonsense.
Absolutely.
And then on top of this bill, any site that like sells any kind of sex explicit stuff, you have to be 18. You have to fill out a form that proves that you're 18 years old.
Like a form,
so in other words,
verification.
In other words, they just can't go on and get on any website where there's sexual content. Yeah. Now you have to prove you're 18. I don't know what that looks like because you guys know as well as I do, kids are very good at sneaking around and getting somehow their parents' consent without really getting the consent. But that would be on the parents. That's the way I see that.
Yeah. No, I think that I think the overreach would be if they said you can't get on the internet until you're 18 years of age or older. You can't, and there's no option. Like, there's no option. I feel like that would be complete overreach. And I always like to think when things like this happen, I always like to think, okay, he's a conservative, DeSantis is.
Right.
And so he's got conservative values. But if this were a more liberal governor, how would we perceive this move? We might perceive it as government overreach, but it's, to me, if I can sit there and say, well, if a liberal governor or a liberal legislature brought this up and I still agree with it, that's to me how I feel in my gut. It's not overreach. Right. Because the pendulum swings both ways. Whenever you have the left in power, they want to try to do things when you have the right in power. And so that's why the checks and balances are important. I think we just got to find a middle ground.
Yeah, here's government overreach.
COVID.
Brand new article out of California. Imagine that. Coming from California, just more stupidity. Yeah. I got to wonder if anybody in California, now I know there are a lot of great, as a matter of fact, I think the majority of the state, outside of the main cities, people have brains. But the people in the cities, I'm really starting to wonder if they have a brain, or at the very least, if they're using their brain. There is some absolute ignorance out there. Listen to this. Okay, it says exclusive. Mandatory state training steers judges to question fitness of parents who don't affirm gender, which confuse kids. In other words, let me kind of read you a little bit of this article so you can kind of understand. It says judges who handle child abuse and neglect cases in California are required to take training on LGBT issues that pushes them to consider whether parents who object to their child's preferred pronouns should have custody of their children. The Judicial Council of California's LGBTQ plus considerations has a training manual. I'm going to post it in the comments of the YouTube page for you to go and look at it yourself, of the stupidity of this training. Yeah. I mean,
pretty bad.
You were reading some of it a minute ago.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. They straight up acknowledge that LGBTQ plus, that whole ideology, is a mental illness. They say that 45% of people or youth that identify it in this way are more likely to attempt suicide or have attempted suicide, or 2.5 times more likely to have clinical depression. Those are mental illnesses. Yeah. And so we're not treating this with a clinical approach. We're treating this with a political approach. We're treating this with affirmation. I mean, if I had schizophrenia, I wouldn't want you to affirm that I have schizophrenia. I would want you to get me help if I had schizophrenia. And so it's not the same as schizophrenia, but the behavior, it's mental. It's a mental illness.
Well, here it is. Right on their training manual, it says LGBT youth can have significant mental health needs. Youth are 4 times more likely to attempt suicide. So these teenagers, these youth, are 4 times more likely to attempt suicide, and 45% of them have considered doing so within the past year. Transgender and non-binary youth were 2 to 2.5 times as likely to experience depression. And the last one is the LGBTQ plus, who are also persons of color, are 2.5 times as likely to attempt suicide when compared to white LGBTQ plus youth, and are overrepresented in of foster care. Now, I don't know why necessarily they had to break out that statistics between white and black, which is pretty crazy, but it is unreal that black, trans, the LGBT community are 2.5 times more likely to commit suicide than white trans LGBT people, which is pretty insane.
That's
I'm not sure why that is.
Well, you see that trend also when it comes to just you take out the LGBTQ stuff. It's the same thing with the African American culture. I don't know what that is, but
they give hypotheticals.
Okay.
In this training to kind of show them, and it says at this hearing you sustain a petition as 2 children, Billy age 10 and Susan age 6, who were detained from father due to abuse. There is evidence that the father called Billy sissy and faggot and spanked him for putting on lipstick and acting effeminate. And mother failed to protect Billy. There is no evidence of abuse or neglect of Susan. The county agency seeks to remove both children from father and provide in-home services to mother. Mother wants father to return to the home because the family is low income. Both parents work full-time and she relies on him for financial support and help with the child care. Susan is very attached to father and cries because she misses him. What dispositional orders should you make?
So so this is a form of brainwashing where you say, hey, this scenario, here's your best practice answer.
Yeah.
So that way, because you can't coach a judge, you can't coach a witness, you can't coach an attorney, because that would be tampering with witnesses. That would be tampering. But what you do is you put hypothetical situations that happen every single day in this training course and tell them, this is how you should respond. Like, that's ridiculous.
I don't think name calling is necessarily
it's not good.
The avenue that you take.
No.
But I'm just going to tell you, I would handle that a whole different way, but sure. I totally understand. I know there are guys out there that do this, and I'm not saying that's right.
Yeah.
But there is an issue. If your son is putting on makeup and he's dressing like a girl at the age, I don't care at what age it is, but definitely your kids, there's something wrong. We cannot ignore that. That is not a normal behavior. And you listening to this, I would venture to say that pretty much all of you listening to me right now that listens on a regular basis agrees with me. But somebody's going to get a hold of this video that disagrees with me and thinks that, no, that's normal. You know, it should be normal for a guy or a girl to think that they're the opposite sex.
Well, no, I think at that age, it depends on does it say what the age was?
Yeah.
What's the age?
Let me get back to it. 10, Billy's 10.
Okay.
And Susan is age 6.
Okay. So and here's the way I could see this, because there is an age of like discovery when you are a small kid where you don't know what is feminine and what is masculine. But you do see at a certain point, we even see this with Levi right now. He's a boy. That's my nephew, his grandson, and he is more drawn to trucks and dump trucks and baseball clubs and all these things.
Golf. But
if he had a sister in the home, which he does in a different capacity, there could be a time where he's playing with a Barbie or something like that. Those are the types of things that are okay long as that's natural. But when you get to age 10, that's when you're starting to go through more of the puberty things, and that to me shows that there's an issue with the father in the home.
Parenting.
Yeah.
It all comes down to parenting. At the end of the day, we are responsible as parents what we're doing with our children. And I'm just saying this California law is a joke that they're training judges to penalize parents who don't gender affirm. Are you kidding me?
That's unconstitutional.
I dare you to come to me and tell me that I cannot parent my child the way I want to. Yeah, that's government overreach.
That's unconstitutional.
And besides that, we're supposed to protect our children from nonsense. I think the government should come in and actually reverse what is happening here. I think you ought to go to jail if you let your 6-year-old be able to determine their sex. That's what I think.
100% agree.
You don't, why is it reversing this? I don't even understand. It's complete ass backwards.
Yeah.
It's unreal.
Yeah.
That we are actually seeing this in our country right now. And I'm having people send me articles just about every day right now of the stupidity that's out there. I could never end this show talking about all the crap that is out there right now of this kind of stuff. It's insane. And let me tell you what it is. I'm going to tell you the number one reason why all this is happening. It's because people are turning away from Jesus.
Yep.
They're turning away from God. They're turning away from the Bible. They're turning away from what the book was written for. Now, I get it. Not everybody's a Christian. I understand that. They don't understand the Bible. I get it. But at the end of the day, when you look at the Word of God, you look at the instruction book, you look at what it teaches us and how to live and what kind of man to be, what kind of, how we were all created. I mean, it says in the very beginning that God created us male and female, two different genders. That's it. There's two in the world, two. There's not any other gender out there in the world but male and female. Everybody knows it, but here's the problem. You're believing your lie. And when you believe your lie long enough, it absolutely becomes your truth. But it's not the truth.
Correct.
And you know it, but as long as you keep believing the lie long enough, you're going to start believing that. It's no different than somebody thinks they're fat when they're not.
Yeah.
They're fat. And it don't matter if they're a beanpole, they're going to be anorexic because they believe the lie that what other people have told them is that they're fat. And now they believe they're fat when they're in fact not fat.
Yeah, the mind is a very powerful thing. What we hand ourselves over to. It's a slippery slope too. I mean, you start thinking about these things and you could you see people being softened to it. It's like the what do they call it? The proverbial frog.
Yeah.
It's like a slow process that it comes and then it's to a boil and it's
well, we become calloused
right
to a lot of things. That it's like a callus on your finger. When you rub, whatever you're doing and you get this callus, it's rubbed in that spot long enough that you don't even feel it anymore because you just become numb to it. It's no big deal. And that is exactly what we're dealing with. And here's the deal. You can't fix stupid. You can't fix stupid. But what we can fix is our legislatures. We can fix who's in office. We can fix who is our president and who is our town mayor and who is our representatives and our senators and governors. We can fix all that with voting.
Yep.
And that's the only way to fix it, is get people in there that have godly values. And the sad thing is there are, I'm trying to remember the statistic. There's 232 million Christian voters. And I believe it was 232 million. Gosh, I wish I could have memorized this. But there are literally, I don't even want to say the number because I can't remember. I spoke at a Republican convention I was actually going to talk about, and I don't have my phone because I would look it up. But there are so many Christians that do not vote. It's like 40-something million Christians that do not vote. It might even be more than that. I wish I could look it up. I need to look it up. We got time to look it up?
Yeah, I'd say so.
I think, if I'm not mistaken.
I mean, in our town, we had a mayoral election, and only out of a town of in St. Clair, the city limits was it's 4,700 people, something like that, and only 432 people voted. And then we wonder why the same people are in office term after term. That we get the wrong people in office, and you wonder why. And even in just a small town, why things happen the way they happen. It's because people they're bickering about it, but they're not doing anything about it.
I talked to a guy yesterday, a customer of mine for my deck and fence business, and he said, "I don't know where you stand politically, and I don't even know why he was going there. He just wanted to talk about politics." I was a little nervous. But I said, "Well, before you go any further, I just want to let you know I'm a Trump fan." He goes, "Oh, good. Yeah, we can talk about this then." I just went out on a limb. But he was telling me about how Lindbergh is doing a no tax increase bond, like it's $150 million or something. But in any case, he was just explaining to me how they have 30 to 40,000 registered voters in the Lindbergh school district. And he said, now I don't know if he's right, but this is what he said. He said only 1,500 people voted.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. That
is unreal. So we're allowing the other 30+ thousand people we're allowing 1,500 people make the decisions for the other 35,000 people. So here it is. I found it. It's 25 million Christians don't vote. That's 1 out of every 3 Christians
Don't vote?
that don't vote. It's on myfaithvotes.com. If you don't believe me, go to it, myfaithvotes.com. It says it right here, 25 million Christians don't vote. That's roughly 1 out of every 3 Christians. And you can change this statistics. And it gives you 7 steps what you can do. Our church is going to be a part of this, actually, whenever we go into the fall season. We're going to try to get people registered to vote. We're going to really talk about how we can vote Christian values. No, there's never going to be a candidate 100% of what we would probably agree with. But as long as that candidate fits the majority of the things that we agree with, then that is the candidate we go with. And 99% of the time, it is going to be a Republican candidate right now.
At least right now it is.
Right now. It may change one day, but right now.
One day we may be voting for lizards. I don't know. If that's the Christian values, that's what I'm voting for.
We may have to go to an independent source, which right now the independents aren't very strong.
No.
However, I'd be okay with it.
Yeah.
I don't really care what you are, as long as you hit my Christian values. I'm voting for you.
Sure.
It don't matter if you are a frog. You know, if you identify as a frog, I'm probably not voting for you. I'm just going to let you know that was kind of a joke. But I'm just saying, it don't matter what background as far as a political party you are. To me, if your standards speak for themselves, you're not going to. I'm just going to tell you right now, you're not going to be a Christian. I'm just saying, you can't have Christian values necessarily and believe what the Democratic Party says for the majority.
Yeah. Unless you've handed yourself over to that lie.
Again, I know this is a sore subject and we're on Unfiltered, so I really don't care, but I'm just telling you right now, can you be a Democrat and be a Christian? My answer is yes. But my answer is you're a lost Christian. You're a confused, reprobate mind Christian, because I'm just telling you, their values, they suck. They stand for all the things that are against what the Word of God is.
Yeah.
They're for LGBTQ+. They're for open borders. They're not for free speech. They're also not for abolishing racism. They're actually start racism. They're also for abortion. Those are all things that we are not supposed to be about.
Yep.
And they have got that whole thing. Oh, it's just so frustrating.
Yeah, it's the way that it. I mean, or they believe that it's the Democratic Party of old.
Yeah,
which I don't know how you can still think that, just seeing everything that we're seeing.
Right.
To me, it's not above all those things, but the only other thing I think you missed was they're anti-American. They are for everything that is good for our country. They're against.
Yeah,
they're against everything that is good for our country, at least from what I see. I mean, I'm sure that's a giant sweeping statement, but for the most part, that is true.
Yeah, and again, we can't say that all Democrats, but we can say
the people in office,
the Democratic political party itself, the people that are in the office, that's what we see. Yep. I mean, when you're sitting there cheering on pro-Palestine, you've got issues.
Yep.
You've got major issues.
Yep.
You know, anyway, I don't want to get too far down that rabbit hole, because my blood pressure might go way up.
We could keep going on that forever.
I'll tell you this. This is the way I see this. My goal as a pastor, my goal as a church leader and a community leader, is to create a church or an atmosphere that is real, that is raw, and speaks the truth of God's word, even when you don't like it. I don't like all the things that are in the Bible necessarily, because there are some hard things that we are supposed to do. One of them is to take the high road all the time. When somebody does you wrong, we have to take the high road. Mm-hmm. If we're going to be like Jesus, we have to take the high road. That's what we're supposed to do. And I'm just telling you, at times that's hard to do. It's hard to walk away from situations and not react. It's hard to love people that have done you wrong. It's hard to forgive people that have done you wrong. It's hard to do those things, but that's what we're supposed to do. I want to create a church where we can be taught the things of God, still live in the world, and enjoy what God has created for us. He created government for us to have, with order and morals and values, family values, that is being lost because we have a bunch of ignorant people out there. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's why we got to create these stupid laws. For what? We have a law for everything. We don't need to create new laws. We don't need to change the Constitution to fit something that's going on today. If it would have just stayed original way back and we have smaller government, we wouldn't be in this boat today.
No, we wouldn't be.
But unfortunately, I get it. A man's good intention is what happens. He has good intention to fix the poverty. He has good intention to look out after kids. He has good intention to help parents parent. You know, they're good intentions, but good intentions don't get you places.
No.
Most of the time it gets you in trouble because our intentions can be good, but we end up usually making a bad decision.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, okay, that's enough for today, I think. Pretty heavy subject, just Austin and I in here pulling the weight.
Yep.
Solving all the world's problems.
I wish I could. I wish I had the time to run for office.
I wish I had enough money and support. I'd run for president.
Yeah.
I had somebody on the podcast here one time. They said, I wish you would run for president. And I'm thinking, I wish I could too.
Yeah.
But I don't have the money.
You either have to dedicate your whole life to getting yourself there or have somebody swoop in like Trump that just can make it happen. But if you want to donate, please let us know. we'll take it.
That's hilarious. Yeah, we're you know, I'm sure there's people like you sitting around at home solving all the world's problems. I went on a trip with some guys this past weekend. Just the four dudes went on a trip. We went on the Bourbon Trail, and we just had a really good time. Anyway, what was funny is on the way there, 5-hour drive on the way there. I'm not kidding you. We literally solved all the world's problems.
Yeah.
Every problem in the world was solved in that 5 hours. And we started laughing about it because we just felt like we solved all the world's problems, but yet.
If only it were that easy.
Exactly. Well, we're having fun here. So I just want to remind you, share this page with people. We're gonna start getting into some very specific topics. We're going to get into some biblical topics. We're not going to talk about this crap all the time. There's going to have my rants every now and then, but we're going to talk about some good biblical topics. We're going to give you a lot of good information on marriage and parenting and faith and healing and whatever these things. We're going to mix it all up in the upcoming months. We're just trying to get through Easter and some of the things that we've been doing here at the church because we're growing and it's been taking a lot of time.
Absolutely.
But we're going to do it in the future. So I want you to share the page with somebody, let people know about the podcast, Unfiltered, and we're going to do this every week. And if you subscribe to the podcast, then whenever we post a new one, you'll get an email or a notification saying a new one's been loaded, and then you guys can go watch it. And again, share, like, comment. That's what we want to see.
Absolutely.
You got anything that you want me to talk about? Let us know in the comments, and we'll take a look at that and see what we can do.
Yep.
All right. Till then, happy Easter to everybody, and we'll see you guys next week.